everyone, my name is Alexis Alvarez. I am a baking and pastry student and food service management student at Johnson Wales University, Charlotte campus. So today I am going to be making an Earl Grey Swiss roll cake with peppermint whipped cream filling. So I chose a Swiss roll cake because it's a cylinder cake with a filling with either jam or whipped cream. And like I said, we're gonna do peppermint whipped cream. So I'm hoping the coolness of peppermint will work really well with the potency of Earl Grey. Now, let's get started. So first things first, we're gonna want all of our ingredients ready. We have 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour that I have sifted 2 times. So I have 1/4 a cup of milk, 1.5 teaspoons of honey, 4 large eggs, a 1/3 cup of sugar, and 4 Earl Grey tea bags. Now, our next step is steeping the tea so that we get that Earl Grey flavor. You're gonna take your milk, your honey, and your tea bags, and we're gonna go over to the stove. All right, so here we are at the stove. I've got my milk, I've got my honey, and I have my tea bag. So using my trusty dusty spatula, I'm going to scoop out all my honey and put it into the pot. Your honey in the pot, I'm gonna take my milk and I'm gonna put that in the pot as well. Okay. Now we're gonna start this, basically we want it to boil. So we're gonna start it at a high. Tea bags in as well. Now on the stove, because honey is sugar and you don't want sugar to burn, we're gonna stir the honey in. Now you're probably wondering, why are you doing the tea first? Why not start mixing the eggs and all? Well, we're basically gonna heat this to a boil. And then if you put hot milk into the eggs, you're gonna curdle it. And we don't want that. So we're gonna do this first and then we're gonna let it cool for a long time until basically it's room temperature so that we don't curdle our eggs. Alrighty then, so as we're stirring in our honey, you can start to see that the milk is starting to turn brownish. That means that the teas are starting to steep. Now we really, really, really want this to steep, so we're still gonna keep heating it for a little longer. Can't see it lightly bubbling, but I believe we are done here. So I'm gonna turn that off. Right, and so after you take your mixture off the heat, you're gonna put it into a separate bowl. So this is your first stop. Gonna let this cool just for a bit at room temperature on the side. Forget about it now. Okay, first things first, with anything you preheat your oven. So we're gonna preheat our oven to 350. Now as we wait for that to heat up, we are gonna make the rest of our cake. Now, you need your eggs and your sugar for this part. You're gonna take your eggs and you're gonna crack 4 into a slightly medium-sized ball. Not a bowl to just fit all the eggs and the sugar. Reason being is because as we make this batter, we are going to mix our eggs really, really for a long time. Really long. And this will basically double the eggs in size, so you'll have 2 times the amount of batter that you think you're getting right now. I'm just gonna break them up. See? Breaking up the eggs. Breaking up the eggs. All right. And then we're gonna add our sugar. Again, this is 1/3 cup of sugar that we measured out before. Flour is gonna be used later, so we'll just leave that off to the side. And let's mix these 2 together. Now, for this recipe, I would recommend a hand mixer. If you don't have one, you can use just a regular whisk like I am right now. All right, so we have all of our eggs and our sugar mixed up. Now we're gonna leave that to the side for a little bit because we're gonna go to the stove. You're gonna get a medium-sized pot of water. Essentially a pot this size. Reason being is because my other pan, my bowl, barely fits onto the pot. Now, you don't want the bowl to go all the way in. You want it like I have it right here, just sitting on top. And you're gonna fill your pot about halfway with water. That's what I have right now. And then I'm gonna take it to the stove and I'm gonna let it get close to a boil. Okay, so our water is about ready. As you can see, it's all steamy and foamy. It's not boiling. We don't want it to boil, otherwise we'll scorch the bottom of the pan. But with your eggs and your sugar, you're gonna put it on. Essentially what we're doing though is we are melting the sugar in the eggs so we don't have a granulated cake. We're just gonna let this vibe right now, mixing it, because we don't want to curdle our eggs. We really, really don't want to curdle our eggs. Okay, and as I said before, keep stirring the eggs, otherwise you're gonna make them curdle and you don't want them to curdle. Now the best way to check to see if the sugar has dissolved is 2 fingers, sticking them in and like rubbing it together. If you feel any sugar, granulated sugar still, your eggs are not ready. If you don't feel anything, they're ready to come off. Now I'm gonna do a second trial. I feel no sugar, so I'm gonna take this off the heat. Okay, eggs off the heat, still gonna keep mixing. And as I said before, we're just gonna mix this. Now, if you feel your bowl is still hot, you wanna keep mixing. Again, you don't want curdled eggs. And just keep mixing so that it doesn't heat up, kind of thing. At this point, we will be mixing for a while. All right, so at this point, I'm going to change from a whisk to a hand mixer. Reason being is because it's faster to get to the stage we need. So we're gonna mix our eggs till ribbon stage. Now this is gonna take a long time, so you wanna be patient and just keep mixing. Essentially what we're doing is we're putting air into the egg. Now this is what's gonna make the cake really fluffy and really just soft when you bite into it. It's also what's gonna help us be able to roll it easier like a regular cake. And again, there's a lot of patience with this cake. For those who are using hand mix, you'll take about double the amount of time that I'm doing with the hand mix. All right, I like that. So we're gonna not use the mixer anymore. Yep, that's all you need to use it for. Again, you can use a whisk, but I like to be faster and cost efficient. Reason being is I have no muscles. So tap the excess off because you're gonna want it and put it to the sink, and then you can put this to the side. We're gonna add flour into the egg mixture using a spatula. We're gonna do this 3 times. Reason being, now that we've mixed our eggs, we don't want to overmix them. Yeah, I know. So I'm gonna take about that much and fold it into our batter. Again, you don't want to overmix, you just want to get it together. Now how I'm folding it is I'm scraping around the whole bowl and making a swipe through the middle. Scrape and swipe. Okay, and then now we're gonna put in the last bit of our flour. Now you saw me mixing very weirdly. Reason being is because my flour was getting into pockets. We don't want it going into pockets. And if it does, you just gotta keep mixing more and more. And know this, you'll just lose all your air in your cake and it won't, like I said, be fluffy. Just keep going if you have to, just keep going. Mix it up, don't always do it from the same place. There you go, still ribbon stage. All right, next part of our batter is gonna be with our tea, so our flavoring. So as you can see, it's very dark. It's because we let it steep with the tea bags a lot longer. So now you're gonna take out your tea bags. That's how you get the Earl Grey flavor. Now we're gonna put a little bit of this batter into the Earl Grey. All right, so I'm gonna take about a spoonful of our egg and flour mixture and put it in there. One enough, essentially basically the equal amount of milk you have in there to the equal amount of dough. So now we're gonna mix it. Again, the whole folding thing. The reason we do this in a smaller batch is in case our eggs start to deflate. We don't want to deflate the whole batch. We want to just deflate a little bit. All right, I see it all mixed in, and now we're gonna take this and dump it into our bowl. And again, we're gonna keep folding as we do this. Okay, there you go, one color. And now we're gonna prep our pan for our cake. Let's do that. Right, so our pan, we're gonna need a smallish size pan. You don't want it to be too big, otherwise you won't be able to properly roll the cake. You want wax paper. Okay, so I got it fit into the pan. Now, before we even put that wax paper down, you're gonna get a paper towel. This is the little trick I like doing. And I don't have Pam spray. So if you have Pam spray or release spray or anything like that, you can use that. But I don't, so I'm going to get a rag with a little bit of oil on it. Again, a little bit, you don't want too much. See, see, see? I'm just gonna spread it all around the pan so that my cake doesn't stick. Right? Gonna get your same thing, you're gonna rub the wax paper so that it comes off the wax paper nicely. And there's your pan. All right, so we have our batter. As you can see, there's a lot of air bubbles, so we're gonna do a few taps of that to get rid of them. Okay, so we're gonna take this and we're gonna pour it. Go along the whole pan. Okay, using the spatula, I'm gonna take and spread my batter evenly. Grab it, drop it, grab it, drop it, grab it, drop it. Gone of air bubbles. As we mentioned earlier, our oven is preheated to 350. So since it's preheated now, I'm gonna put it into the oven for 15 minutes and then we'll check on it afterwards. All right, this is a little trick I wanted to show you all on how to check if your cake is done. So we're gonna touch the middle of the cake and when it springs back up, it's done. So let's pull it out. Look at that, the delicious golden brown. So now, while it's still warm, we're gonna flip it out. All right, so next step is what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab a bag of powdered sugar. You're not gonna have an exact amount for this, so just have some powdered sugar. Gonna need a sifter, and as you can see, I already started. You're gonna sift with a towel. Essentially, this is gonna help us to roll our cake. We want something to be able to grip and to roll it. So, while the cake's still warm, powdered sugar all over the towel. Using a sifter, because as you can see here, I have big chunks of powdered sugar. We don't want big chunks of powdered sugar. Go around, cover the whole thing. Basically, a blanket of snow all over. You're gonna get it on your counter, it's fine, we'll clean up later. And there we go. So we're basically gonna flip it on there. So we're gonna pat it. This is helping us take the cake out. All right, and there we go. Oh, little corner guard stuff, that's gonna happen. Really good. All right, so we have parchment paper on here. I'm gonna take it off. I wanna be careful though. If we start to break the cake, because it is a soft cake, it's not gonna work. All right, with all the parchment off, we're gonna get our sifter again and more powdered sugar. Again, there's no exact amount for this. So just put a little bit in. We're gonna sift over the cake. Reason being, again, we don't want it to stick to the towel when we roll it. And again, a blanket of snow. All right. I have my cake sideways, so I'm gonna turn it. Ooh, I'm a little nervous. It's my first time. All right. Obviously, my towel's a little too big, so we're not gonna do it like that. And you're basically gonna fold the first and then roll. Now you don't have to be too tight at this point. Just gotta be delicate. And there. Now, that's gonna cool completely. If you feel it's still warm, you don't want to mess with it after that. Reason we're doing this while it's still warm, so the cake can get used to it. So it doesn't crack after this. Now again, we're gonna leave it alone, off to the side, let it cool. All right, so next part we're gonna do is the peppermint whipped cream filling for cake. So you need 2 cups, 16 ounces of heavy whipping cream, a teaspoon of peppermint extract. Teaspoon, don't do more. Peppermint extract is one of those that if you put too much, it tastes really bad. You don't want that. Now here I have gelatin blooming. We're not gonna use the whole thing. We're just gonna use some of it and for a teaspoon of this. So keep a teaspoon on hand. Not using it yet. And we have a tablespoon and a half of powdered sugar. So first things first, again, you can use a whisk or a hand mixer. I like a hand mixer because it's fast and efficient. So, heavy whipping cream bowl. Mix. Okay, this right here is what we want it at. Not yet exactly peaky, but it's getting there. So leaving our hand mixer right there. Powdered sugar, sifted beforehand, dump it in. Vanilla, no, not vanilla, peppermint. We're using peppermint. Peppermint extract. Oh, that's so potent. And as I mentioned before, we're gonna need to melt this a bit. So let's go do that. All right, here it is, melted. 15 seconds, no more than that. Teaspoon, in. So now we're gonna mix. Stop for a second. Get a spatula. Right? With the spatula, you are going to scrape your bowl. So scrape it, getting the sides, getting the bottoms, getting what the mixer can't get. There you have it. Exactly what we need. Now, I'm feeling a little colorful, so I'm gonna add a drop of green because it's mint. Okay, so here we have it, green. Now these are gel colors. Gel colors are more potent than the food colorings that you get in stores. So I'm only gonna be using a drop because I'm looking for a minty green. Be careful because this stuff will stain your fingers, which I think it's already doing to me. Careful with that. That's so pretty. Look at that. See that? Simple green that will look nice on the brown. Don't want any too crazy things. And again, you're gonna scrape the sides, scrape the bottom, because I still see white. Again, this is optional. I like it, it's pretty. I like messing with colors, it's a pretty color. See, it's a pretty color. All right, and now let's go check on our cake. All right, so I have my cake and I have my frosting, or my filling. Let's roll the cake out nicely and delicately. Okay, so you can see it's curled right here. That's perfectly fine. It means that it's taken its shape. So, grabbing the filling, put some in it. I'm gonna start off with that, okay? And then we're gonna spread it out evenly. So using an offset spatula, a baby one, I'm gonna spread it to all ends of the cake. All ends. All right, with all that filled, we're gonna roll our cake again. So take our towel and turn it so it's facing you, and it's easier. Lip side, twist. You're gonna wanna be as tight as possible. Curling it, keep going, keep going. Tightening as we go, going, keep going, and some of your filling is gonna spill out. That's fine, scrape it off. No one will see this because this is the bottom of the cake. See? Right? Right? Now that your cake is done and rolled perfectly, we are going to clean it up a bit. So I'm going to take about an inch to a half an inch off on each side. There you have it. Rolled cake. Look at that shape you made. Isn't it beautiful? Right, so when decorating your cake, you're gonna put the seam flat so no one sees like a mess that is. You're gonna take a piping bag with a star tip. Any star tip size you want. I'm using this size. I like it. Love it, awesome. And we're gonna do pretty swirls. there we have it. Earl Grey Swiss cake with peppermint whipped cream filling. Delicious, right? All right, don't forget to dig in and try it. Hope you guys enjoyed.